Good afternoon, everyone. We are a couple of minutes past noon, so this meeting is now called to order. Mr. Coley, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Askew.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Herbert.
Here.
Commissioner Pinnell.
Here.
Commissioner Simpson Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Small.
Here.
Commissioner Worden.
Here.
All present, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coley. Pursuant to Executive Orders 16, 34, and 51 issued by Governor Bill Lee, which allow for this public meeting to be conducted by electronic means to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, I'd like to entertain a motion that this board makes the determination for this meeting to be conducted electronically. Commissioners, to make a motion, please start by stating your name. Is there a motion?
Celeste Herbert, so moved.
And do we have a second?
Tavi Small, second.
Is there any discussion from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, Mr. Coley, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Askew.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Small.
Aye.
Commissioner Worden. Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
The determination to conduct the board meeting electronically has passed unanimously.
Apologies. I believe Commissioner Worden and I are having the same problems with their software. So if you'll bear with us, if we are kicked off, we will return. Did we receive our final vote on the roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair, it passed unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. So sorry about that. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from June 18th, 2020 as mailed to the commissioners. Commissioners, to make a motion, please start by stating your name. Is there a motion?
Jerry Askew, so moved.
And do we have a second?
Tavi Small, second.
Is there any discussion from the commissioners? All right, hearing none. Mr. Coley, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Askew.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Small.
Aye.
Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
The minutes are approved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coley. We have several resolutions. Gabe, you are recognized to get us started with the resolutions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, as you know, on July 28th, the City Council adopted a resolution encouraging more collaboration between KUB, the city, and our customers in response to the campaign to amend the KUB's charter. That resolution included some requests from the mayor regarding the upcoming nominations process, a workshop request by the City Council and mayor to talk about a rate design, and 2 items that we want to recommend for your approval today. So first, Susan Edwards will present to you the proposed community advisory panel. Once she is complete and that resolution is voted on, Mark Walker will then present our recommendations regarding the basic service charge.
Thanks, Gabe. Commissioners, I'm happy to be here today to talk with you about our proposed community advisory panel that was the subject of discussion with the city administration and city council last month. Next slide, please. This is actually a direct quote from the resolution that the city council passed, and it's regarding the purpose of this panel, what we hope to gain from it, but I think you can distill it down to really those first 5 words. It's to gather input from KUB customers. We really hope that this body will provide us useful information about what our customers are looking for, and also allow us to share information with them that is helpful for them and for the people that they will represent to know. A real two-way conversation. That's what we're hopeful for as we set this panel up. The good thing is we've got some good models to build upon. None of you were on the board when we received our consent decree, but you certainly are well aware of the impact that that has had on our customers, both financially, through construction, and through the many programs that were developed as a result of that consent decree. When we were in the early days of that at work, we knew that those impacts were going to be very important to our customers, and it would be important for us to communicate clearly to them about what to expect, what we were doing, why we were doing it, and how it would impact them. We also wanted to be sure that we were making those program decisions with information from our community as well. So we established the PACE 10 Partners Council to help us do that. And that two-way communication was really its primary goal. The picture you see here is of that very first Partners Council meeting, and it was a really diverse group of folks. As you can see, there were people from business, people from environmental groups, people who served low-income communities, and residential customers from across our service area, business customers as well. We really looked to get a very broad cross-section of the community to help us. I think this effort was considered to be very successful. The panel itself met for about 10 years. They started in 2005 and met until 2014. We actually thought they might go longer than that. We had intended for that to last the extent of the consent decree, which you know is still ongoing. implementation. But the panel in 2014 came to us and basically said they felt like that they had achieved their objective. The input from the community had been incorporated into our programs, which were well up and going by that point. And so they, on their own, decided that they had done their job and decided to disband. So we felt like it was very positive. It was also held up as a model to other communities for how to do communication around a consent decree. So that's our first example. We had another example about 10 years ago, which was our tree trim policy review panel. This one was a bit different. It was formulated in response to a public concern. At that time, there were a number of people in the community who had concerns about our vegetation management program, and they worked with City Council to get a resolution passed encouraging KUB to take a look at its program and to incorporate public input into that process. So we established a tree trim policy review panel, again with a very diverse makeup of folks, and charged them with the job of doing a complete top to bottom review of our program and making recommendations for improvement. That group was originally intended to work for probably about 6 months because it did have a fairly narrow scope. They ended up meeting for close to a year and made more than 100 recommendations to the board at that time. The board adopted all but 4, which were not adopted because of cost concerns. We went about implementing them. We had continual updates to the board on that implementation process, and our program is much stronger today as a result of that work. And I will just make a side note, Commissioner Pinnell was on that tree panel, so she had a front row seat to that process, and we really appreciated her input as well. So if we look at both of those efforts, I think the items that we have identified that made them successful really are in 3 buckets. One is to get that diversity of viewpoints. As I mentioned, both bodies really included a wide variety of perspectives, experiences, and viewpoints, people from the residential community, the business community, environmental issues, low-income advocates. There were a lot of different perspectives, and we really felt that made it stronger. Importantly, both bodies also included chief critics of KUB. For the Partners Council, that was in the Tennessee Clean Water Network. The Clean Water Network is one of the plaintiffs in the Clean Water Act lawsuit that resulted in the consent decree. But their executive director sat on that body and provided a lot of really valuable input to us. Same for the tree panel. One of the chief advocates for the City Council resolution was invited to be on the tree panel as well. And we think that that made those bodies much stronger. Second element that was really important is that third-party facilitator. In both cases, we used a third-party facilitator to really provide that neutral perspective to guide the group. And we think that's really important because it allows us to be sure that every voice is heard. It also holds us accountable for being sure that we're providing the information that the group needs to do their work, and to be sure that we're hearing clearly from them what their issues are. And lastly, board and staff involvement. For both the Partners Council and the Tree Trim Policy Review Panel, senior staff was in attendance at, I think, every single one of their meetings. Board members also were engaged in the development of that work and very often in the meetings themselves. There's really no substitute for that firsthand understanding of the community's input, and we think those are important elements going forward too. Next slide. So as we turn to our development work today for the Community Advisory Panel, our plan is to model this effort on the Partners Council. That really had a broad scope and a long-term perspective. We think that that is the appropriate model for us to use. We've already begun working with Dr. Bill Lyons to help us refine that model and make it, updated and relevant for the work that is ahead of us today. And he has agreed also, assuming that you approve this resolution, to serve as our facilitator. And we think that that is a really big asset for us. He certainly has lots of experience here locally, having served under 4 different mayors and lots of experience in community engagement. And I don't know if you noticed it, but on the Partners Council picture, he was actually in that picture. He was a participant in the Partners Council, so he has had some firsthand experience with how this process can work as well. I've already talked a lot about diverse representation. We have identified at least 4 categories of folks that we want to be sure we're getting to. Certainly people with an interest in low-income communities, environmental advocates, residential and business customers, And City of Knoxville representatives, we view this as a partnership with the city administration and city council, so we want to be sure that they have a role to play here. And as we did in our earlier efforts, we also would recommend that we include a representative of the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy as the convener of the coalition that went to council with their proposal last month. We think that that's appropriate here as it was in those earlier efforts. So our timeline after today, assuming that you all agree to authorize this panel, is that we would spend some time in the next several weeks working with the city and other stakeholders on proposed representation who we think might be good candidates for this body. And then we would come back to you in October with another resolution to finalize the structure, the plan for this work, and the appointments for that initial panel of folks. So that would come back to you in October. We are looking for a first meeting probably after the first of the year. We thought by that point we're going to be getting into the holidays. So get past the holidays, maybe we'll have a little bit of relief on social distancing requirements by then, so that we can meet in person. That is something that Dr. Lyons has suggested would be really helpful when you're trying to build a relationship with this community body. It would be nice if we could meet in person. So all that work is starting to get underway, and with your approval today, we will we'll ramp it up and get going. So the resolution before you today, Resolution 1420, directs the President and CEO to establish a community advisory panel. It provides for that second resolution I mentioned just now. It also provides that all meetings of the panel will be publicly noticed, open to the public, and provide for public input. So we really are going to be very transparent and out there so that people have a chance to be engaged. It also requires regular reports back to you on the panel's activities. So obviously it's not going to be useful if that feedback doesn't get back to you. So that is what is contained in Resolution 1420. We ask for your approval, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Susan. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners? All right, hearing none, is there a
Hey, Kathy?
motion? Yes,
I think Commissioner Pennell wanted to make a comment.
All right, Commissioner
It was in the
Pennell.
chat.
Do we have a question or a comment from Commissioner Pennell?
Sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's going to be a positive panel for the community and for KUB. I was on the tree trim panel, as Susan mentioned, and what I loved about being part of the tree trim panel was that it empowered positive discussion, creative ideas, and I think that the results were positive. And I just foresee the future of this panel more of the same. So thank you for putting this together to present to us.
Thank you.
Chair Hamilton, this is Tavi. I echo Commissioner Pennell's comments. I think that this is a great opportunity for us to really engage with our community, engage with the people who are our customers, the people who we care about each day. And so I absolutely support this and think this is the right thing for us to do moving forward.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from any other commissioners? All right, then is there a motion for Resolution 1420 on first and final reading?
Jerry Askew, so moved.
And do we have a second?
Sarah Pennell, second.
Thank you, commissioners. Members of the public were invited to pre-register to address the board on this action. And we have 3 speakers that are registered. The first is Stephen Smith. Our producer will connect Dr. Smith to the meeting. Dr. Smith?
Chair Hamilton, Dr. Smith is with us.
All right. Dr. Smith, thank you for joining us. You will have 5 minutes to make your comment, and I can see the countdown. I understand that you can't, so I will let you know when you have a minute remaining.
Okay, well, I can see the countdown, so thank you.
Oh, you can't? All right.
Smith, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just a couple of things. First, I'm going to speak on both this resolution and the one that follows, that is in response to the work that we did, just to be efficient. Don't need to dial me back in for the second one. So, so what I'd like to do is just on this particular resolution say we look forward and appreciate the board considering this and hopefully moving it forward. I think any form of increased communication with the community is valuable, and I think as was manifest in some of the things that happened in July, I think there was a concern about the lack of hearing on some of the issues that have been raised over the last couple of years. So I think this is at least a good faith effort to try to increase that communication, and so we welcome that opportunity. I have had a conversation with Gabe Bolin on this a little bit, and I think that we anticipate that yes, you know, we hope that this gets set up in a manner that is reflective of the community. I think that will, you know, bear out in the coming months, and so we look forward to that. And we have shared with him some insights that we have on having participated in a number of these things with other utilities and with Tennessee Valley Authority and others. So hopefully there'll be a way that some of that might get incorporated into the outcomes. So look forward to this. Again, want to thank you for considering it and hopefully moving it forward. On the second resolution that'll be before you a little bit later, let me just briefly say that again, we welcome that. You know, there was some lack of clarity coming out of the concerns that were raised by the community about fixed fees over the past couple of years, and I know there was some discussion of a temporary moratorium, and you know, there was debate about how long that would last and this, that, and the other. I think having this formal resolution that extends it out for, as I understand, 5 years, we'll see how it goes through, is valuable. I think it gives relief to the customers at an important time, and so we are favorably supportive of that. We believe there are still a whole set of issues incorporated with the regressive nature of fixed fees, the use of cost of service studies. We do object to some of the language in the resolution that talks about what we were proposing as having an impact on bonds. I don't believe that's accurate because we weren't doing anything to limit KUB's overall ability to gather revenue. But hopefully over the course of having more dialogue, we'll be able to dig into those issues more directly. There is one provision that we had requested in some of the work that we were doing with the city council and the mayor about a public hearing. I don't know if there's any way to amend the resolution, but we think that if in the future there is a attempt to raise fixed fees, having a definitive public hearing about that is independent from just a few minutes at the end of a board meeting, because these issues can get very technical, is an important provision that we would like to see KUB commit to, because we think that's actually best practice. It allows for more meaningful dialogue on issues in the future, but we have time to hopefully work that through. And then just in closing, I would just want to again thank you for considering this. We have a number of other issues that we brought up that hopefully through either the public advisory committee or through ongoing dialogue with the city council, KUB will contemplate modifications to their bylaws that make their meetings more open and more accessible. There's a whole suite of things that were proposed. We look forward to continuing to have meaningful dialogue on those issues. So again, in closing, thank you. We hope that both of these resolutions move forward, and we appreciate y'all taking time to consider our comments.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith. Our next speaker is Kent Minot, and our meeting producer will now connect him to the meeting.
All right, good.
Chair Hamilton, Mr. Minot is with us.
Mr. Minot, thank you for joining us. You will now have 5 minutes to make your comments.
I'm sorry, can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Are we connected?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much. This is Kent Minot here. I volunteer with the Sierra Club. And first off, I want to get... Okay, thank you so much, Chair Hamilton. Here goes. Hang on, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm connected. I hear my voice from several seconds ago.
We are hearing you, Mr. Minot.
I'm just going to turn it off completely because I can't. All right, I think, so can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Again, thanks for the opportunity. This is Kent Minot here from the Sierra Club. And first off, I want to thank KUB for going ahead and renewing the suspension of shutoff policy in the face of the second wave of the pandemic. This move puts KUB in a leadership position, pointing the way for other utilities to follow, and it's much appreciated. Now today, we're here to discuss the two measures before the board that stem from the ACT on KUB measures spearheaded by our allies at SACE. And the Sierra Club joined that coalition supporting the measures, but we didn't get our name in the paper because it took us so long to confirm our decision. We're slow because our decision-making requires consultation with many careful and experienced thinkers, but everyone I spoke with, without exception, said the proposal was a good idea, long overdue, and well thought out. And the reason, I think, is because the climate crisis requires a deeper engagement between the public and the public utility, which is our public property. The proposal and the movement behind it has spurred a deeper conversation and forced the City Council to carefully examine their role in overseeing our most valuable public asset. And this process is not over. But so far, KUB has moved to put measures in place to handle a few of our concerns, and the process is underway. I know it's been difficult. After the City Council workshop, it was clear that KUB's leadership felt hurt and attacked by our advocacy. And it's been important to me as an advocate to build strong and trusting relationships. And I feel I've done that here. I appreciate the kind welcome I've received from you and the generous allotments of staff time granted to me and allies I've brought in, and the implementation of some of the policies we've suggested. But the point behind making these connections is to have relationships strong enough to withstand serious disagreement. And well, we're working through some of that now. The Sierra Club strongly urges you to pass the 5-year freeze on the fixed fees. And we also urge you to authorize KUB staff to assemble the Community Advisory Committee. And we think it would be smart to have community input on how the committee is structured. But of course, there's still a whole lot of work to be done besides. And we know you expressed fear about bringing politics into the management of the utility. Well, raising the voices of vulnerable communities and deploying clean energy and responding to the climate crisis are all political processes. And we understand this will involve disagreement, and the process is likely to become uncomfortable now and then. I look forward to keeping the conversation honest and respectful, and to continuing the quality of the relationships we've built. Our job as advocates is to push you, even to the point of discomfort. And well, we'll keep pushing, but know the intent is to benefit the lives of people to come. I look forward to continuing work with you. even when it gets uncomfortable. Thanks again for the opportunity to address you. I'm Kent Minot, and I volunteer with the Sierra Club.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minot. Our next speaker is Bree Nisley, and she is now being connected to the meeting.
Chair Hamilton, Ms. Nicely is with us.
Ms. Nisley, thank you for joining us. You will have 5 minutes to make your comments.
Awesome, thank you. I don't know if I'll need my full 5 minutes because the two previous speakers really covered a lot of what I wanted to say. But really, I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name is Bree Nisley. I live here in Knoxville in the 37914 zip code. I work for an organization called Appalachian Voices, and we have an office here in Knoxville. But I work kind of all throughout the TVA footprint, and a lot of my work is in East Tennessee, work with members and customers of a lot of utilities. Yeah, I'd like to start by saying that I want to thank KUB for highlighting why this resolution is important and how it could benefit the Knoxville Utilities Board. I think the PACE 10 Partners Council seems like it was a really good partnership between y'all and the community, and I really appreciate y'all lifting that up. And yeah, I just want to express my support both for this resolution and the following resolution. I think that without community involvement and intentional relationships and dialogue with specific representation from the community, lots of times policies and programs that our utilities, and other bodies in our local cities and governments make can have unintended consequences. And I think it's really important to be in dialogue so that we can understand how those unintended consequences might impact different sectors of our community, and also so that we can hear ideas that might be generated from within the community for policies and programs that could benefit them, because I think that's another unintended consequence of not being in relationship and dialogue with the community. I work on a program in my organization that's focused on something called energy democracy, and it really partners the energy transition, moving to more cleaner renewable sources, with more participation and more democracy in our energy system. And I think that's an important new concept that's been kind of on the rise in environmental spaces for a number of years, because I think, the environmental community, we kind of have our own baggage that we carry when it comes to the unintended consequences of the policies and programs that we promoted in the past. And so I think it's really a benefit for all of us, environmental advocates, low-income advocates, the KUB board, in the community, to have spaces like this so that we can move forward and make the best decisions possible for all the folks in our community. And I also too, I want to touch on the next resolution that's around freezing the fixed fees. I think that that's a good example of one of those unintended consequences that I keep saying. And I think that community members can understand and provide a lot of valuable input on rate structure and how to do that in a valuable way. I think sometimes, folks think that certain subjects are so wonky that it's not, that people without formal training in those areas can't provide valuable contributions. But I'll just say that through my own work in partnering with communities all throughout the state in all kinds of different areas, both rural areas and cities, that I think all kinds of folks in the community can bring a lot to the table in those types of conversations. So anyways, that's all for me. I will cede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nisley. Our next speaker is Erin Gill, and she is now being connected.
I'm on. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are. Thank you for joining us, and you'll now have 5 minutes for your comments.
Fantastic. Thank you. Commissioners and KUB staff, my name is Erin Gill, Chief Policy Officer and Deputy to Mayor India Kincannon of the City of Knoxville. On behalf of the city and the mayor, I want to thank you for your commitment in this resolution and others to partnership, collaboration, and relationship building, not only with the city, but also our community. I especially want to thank you and the staff at KUB who work closely with Mayor Kincannon and members of City Council to understand in a very deep way the concerns that members of our community have raised and to identify meaningful solutions through which the city and KUB in partnership can advance shared goals that are responsive to those concerns and the interests of various groups in our community. So thank you. I'm really grateful for KUB for supporting these resolutions that will publicly and transparently commit to those next steps. Very important to have that follow-on action, and I appreciate your consideration of it. As you know, and I'll speak very briefly to the next one too when we get to that in the agenda, but as you know, the City of Knoxville and Mayor Kincannon have adopted pretty bold goals related to reducing carbon emissions in our community by 80% by 2050 relative to 2005. Achieving this goal and addressing climate change is critical not only for our environment, but also the health and the long-term success of our residents and our economy in Knoxville. KUB is and has long been a core partner to the city in achieving our sustainability goals, and I want to thank you for the sustained leadership you have shown as a utility in meaningfully moving the needle toward a more sustainable energy grid. As commissioners, these numbers may not surprise you, but we recently completed our 2019 emissions inventory. And just as a point of reference, between 2005 and 2019, the emissions associated with building energy use, that's residential, commercial, and industrial use in Knoxville, have already fallen 23%, and that's largely thanks to the investments that KUB and TVA have made in a lower carbon electricity grid, bringing our emission rate down close to 35% in only 15 years. It also reflects the investments that have been made in efficiency, and that has helped residential energy use track steadily downward since 2005. So those are metrics that we can be very proud of, not only as the city and as KUB, but in our community. It's clear to me that our community cannot meet our climate goals without KUB, but I also want to say thank you because KUB has been pulling your weight, especially with the investments that you've made recently in Green Invest and the ongoing commitments that you have for low-income weatherization. KUB has and is continuing to help make Knoxville a regional leader in advancing a more green and equitable carbon electric grid. So thank you. I appreciate that. To speak to the kind of particular resolution around the community advisory panel, in addition to environmental progress, equity, as you know, is also an important part of sustainability. And as public entities, both the city and KUB, we're all challenged to advance equity. What that can mean, among other strategies, is finding new ways to meaningfully engage with the communities that we serve, and in particular for us today around issues related to energy burden and the ways that various residents in our community may be disproportionately impacted by the various decisions that are under consideration by KUB, by the city, and others. So the proposed community advisory panel is a really exciting opportunity, and to me it further reveals KUB's commitment to openness and community relationship building. The city is ready and excited to support that effort, however would be helpful. And again, very grateful to KUB for your leadership and thankful for the commissioners for supporting this important next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. Is there any other discussion from the commissioners? All right, hearing none. Mr. Coley, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Askew.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert.
Aye.
Commissioner Pennell. I'm taking that as an aye. Commissioner Simpson Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Small.
Aye.
Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
Resolution 1420 has passed unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. Our next official action is Resolution 1421, which freezes the level of residential basic service charges through December of 2025 and requires a cost of service study be completed for the consideration of any increase in basic service charges after 2025. Mark, I believe you're going to present this resolution.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Gabe mentioned at the outset of the meeting, the resolution adopted by Council on July the 28th also endorsed that the board take action to freeze the level of residential basic service charges for a 5-year period, and also require that a cost of service study be conducted for any increase to be considered after the 5-year period. And those actions are the subject of Resolution 1421 that is before you for consideration today. And I'm just going to take a few minutes and set the context brings us forward to the resolution. It was a year ago, in August of 2019, that the board announced that there would be no increases in the residential basic service charges for a period of 3 years for the following 3 fiscal years, which covered the period July 2020 through June of 2023. Now, that was a verbal commitment, and that day it was not codified by the adoption of a resolution. I guess some of the reasons as to why the board announced that day and that commitment was made, it was in fact that the cost of service studies that we had recently completed indicated that the current level of basic service charges were essentially consistent with cost of service for the most part. Gas was actually a decent amount below what cost of service said. So we felt comfortable with where the levels were based upon those cost of service studies. But also the action or the commitment was made in response to requests from numerous customers and also community groups that KUB freeze the level of basic service charges. So that was part of the rationale. That was really the rationale for why that commitment was made last summer. Now, fast forward to this summer and the last week of June 2020, we learned that there had been amendments proposed to the KUB section of the city charter that, among other things, addressed board terms, board selection process, but also had language provided in the amendment for the use of fixed charges or the setting of fixed charges. And specifically, there was language that said that the board or KUB should minimize the use of fixed charges as a source of revenue and instead prioritize variable use charges as a source of revenue. And as we discussed, that language was, we believe, to be problematic for a number of reasons. One is that it did limit the autonomous rate making of the KUB board, which we think is very important. And it also clearly constituted a conflict in the contractual commitments made by both the city and KUB to our current bondholders, which basically in those commitments ensured that the board had autonomous rate making authority. So that was a problem. And then we also felt strongly that the dilution of that autonomous rate making authority would be negatively viewed by the rating agencies. And as a result, we believe it would impact our bond ratings and raise future borrowing costs. And we talked to our bond counsel, we talked to our financial advisor, and they definitely felt that over the long term, this would have an increase in our borrowing cost. So as a result, we, in collaboration with the mayor, her staff, and members of council, it was ultimately agreed that a longer term and more definitive commitment to freezing the level of residential basic service charges would serve as a viable alternative to what had been proposed in the amendments to the charter. So that brings us to today and Resolution 1421. So if we could advance the slide, please. Thank you. And spend just a couple of minutes walking through what the board will be committing to via the adoption of the resolution. And first and foremost, it is freezing the current level of residential basic service charges through December of 2025 or through 2025. That is a little bit longer than 5 years, but we did commit in the council meeting of the evening of the 28th of July that we would extend that through 2025. So, but in addition to that, we also have some provisions or some requirements that address what would happen after 2025. So in the event that there would be a consideration or a proposal to increase basic service charges after the 5-year period, it does require that a cost of service study be completed and a recent cost of service study be done. So within a 12-month period prior to the proposed increase, we have to have that cost of service study done. And the cost of service study and the proposed increase are to be presented to the board at a meeting that occurs prior to the meeting where it would be voted on. Now, that's been a long-standing practice anyway, to obviously discuss proposed rate actions well in advance of the meeting where they would be voted on. But this would also include the discussion of the cost of service study. And then as far as additional public notice, that we would provide at least 15 days public notice from that meeting of the initial discussion that the cost of service and the proposed increase is going to be discussed at the board meeting. So there is an additional notice requirement that is also reflected in this resolution. So all of that is perspective and is several years out beyond 2025, but there are some additional considerations that would come into effect if we're to consider an increase in basic service charges after the 5-year period. But I think when you look at it, step back and look at it, I think that for the most part, what is being committed to in this resolution is essentially a codification of certainly the spirit of the previously board stated intentions and commitments, and also is a reflection of really current KUB practices and plan practices. For instance, we have committed to going forward anytime there would be a rate increase recommendation, whether that is for a fixed charge after this 5-year period or for a usage charge at any time, that there would be cost of service studies performed and discussed with the board. So I do think the spirit of this embodies previously stated intentions and commitments of the board. And that concludes my comments. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Mark. Are there questions from the commissioners? All right.
Kathy, this is
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say that I appreciate all the work that's gone into this on KUB side and then the city side and the community. I always personally hesitate on what might be perceived as loss of flexibility to make changes, but I think that this is a really good thing for our customers. And I appreciate, again, the work that's gone into seeing what we can do to help them, and particularly during this time. So thanks, Mark, to you and your team and all the other people that contributed to this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Chair Hamilton,
yes.
This is Jerry Askew. I do think it bears mentioning and reminding us all that had we not allocated the charges the way we did during the really bad winters and summers that we've experienced over the past few years, the poorest people among our customers would have been hit very hard had more of the fee been in the variable rate rather than the fixed rate. And I just think it's really important for us to remember that the staff and the board worked very hard to protect those who would be the most vulnerable, and they would have been hurt had we not allocated a significant portion to the fixed fee.
Commissioner Askew, I think that it's a good point. You know, over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of discussion and points made that fixed charges have a really negative impact on our lower income customers. And the underlying premise is that low income means low usage. And that's not always necessarily the case. And I think we've made the point before that in particular for those that are on the waiting list and have been having their homes weatherized, that some of their usage is just very, very high. And I think you have to be careful, and it is really a balancing act. But you just can't automatically assume that a lower income customer would have benefited from charging the rates or doing the rate structure in a different way, because they have some of the most highest usage, and if you're putting all the charges on the usage rate, then they're going to be hurt even more. So that's a good point.
Thank you, Mark, and it reinforces our need to continue our efforts in weatherization so that we can help those who are most vulnerable lower their bills.
Certainly, and we are very committed, obviously, to that program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Askew. Are there other questions or comments from the commissioners? If not, is there a motion for Resolution 1421 on first and final reading?
Tavi Small, so moved.
And do we have a second?
Celeste Herbert, second.
Thank you, commissioners. Once again, members of the public were invited to pre-register to address the board on this particular action. We do have two speakers that are registered. The first is Mr. Kent Minot, and he is now being connected.
Chair Hamilton, after 2 attempts, Mr. Minot did not answer his phone.
All right, then we will move forward. Our next speaker is Aaron Gill.
Am I on?
You are.
Great. Hello again. I'll be very brief. Erin Gill, Chief Policy Officer for the City of Knoxville. But again, just really want to thank KUB for the partnership in bringing this resolution in response to the conversations that were had with Mayor Kincannon, the City Council, and members of the community in recent months. Truly, this reflects a willingness to make a long-term commitment. And I believe, in freezing the fees, you have really shown a willingness to listen with open ears and open mind to the concerns that have been raised in our community. And I think that speaks very highly as well of relationship building and the willingness to kind of be very open to that community feedback, of also a very strong fiscal management that you can look ahead with confidence at what future years hold. So I think, again, that really speaks to KUB's leadership in this space. This is a commitment that is important to Mayor Kincannon, as well as many others in our community, as you know. And I will also say that we fully appreciate and endorse, as Mark indicated, the codification of the commitment to cost of service studies and ample public notice prior to a fee increase. So thank you for both of these measures.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. Is there any other discussion by the commissioners? Hearing none, Mr. Coley, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Askew.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Small.
Aye.
Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
Resolution 1421 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. Next, I'd like to recognize Gabe to introduce our next agenda item.
Yes, thank you, Chair Hamilton. Commissioners, KUB has offered an optional green power program to its customers for over 20 years, and the support by our customers has been tremendous over those years. TVA is now introducing a new program, one that they would like to pilot with us, that's called the Green Match Switch. And I'd like to recognize Mike Bolin, Vice President of Utility Advancement, to provide the details.
Thank you, Gabe. Commissioners, it's my pleasure to introduce this resolution to you today. TVA is in the process of piloting and offering a new green power product for us to pilot. But as Mr. Bolus said, our customers have been taking advantage of the green power offerings for more than 20 years now. The program Green Power Switch began back in the year 2000. That program at the time offered 150 kWh blocks of renewable power for $4 each per month. A number of our customers have embraced that program over time, and as we sit here today, we have about 1,800 customers participating in that program, and collectively they are purchasing about 5,000 blocks of green power every month. Recently, that program was changed. It was renamed as a branding effort with TVA Green Switch, and the price was also decreased to $2, and the amount of renewable energy for each block was raised to 200 kWh from 150. If you divide the 200 kWh by $2, or divide $2 by 200 kWh, you'll see it's costing our customers a penny per kWh of renewable power under this block. Now, in the case of this offering, participants are basically buying a fixed amount of renewable power each month. It really doesn't match, if you will, what their consumption is, and the charges for this will be a fixed amount on every bill going forward until they change either the amount of blocks they're purchasing or they drop out of the program. So it's almost like a ongoing commitment at a levelized rate, showing their commitment to green power. Next slide, please. The new proposed program from TVA is called Green Switch Match, and this program doesn't replace the existing Green Switch program. It gives customers another opportunity. What this program does is allow customers to match their green renewable purchases to their consumption. So no longer are they limited to blocks of power that may or may not match their consumption. They're able to actually match 100% their consumption, as their consumption may go up and may go down. Similar to the math I did a while ago that said, hey, what customers are paying right now is a penny per kWh. This program is also priced at 1 cent per kWh as well. The new program has the same sources of renewable attributes, 70% from solar, 20% from wind, 10% from biogas. The same type of commitment on behalf of the customers. They can go in or out of the program month to month if they so choose. There's not necessarily a long-term commitment on their behalves. Interestingly enough, there's no change in KUB margin associated with this because truthfully, in both these programs, the existing program and the new program, everything that we collect from our customers is passed through directly to TVA to help fund their production of the renewable energy. If approved by the board today, this pilot program would be available October 1st. When we talk about it being a pilot program, TVA is committed to offering this for a period of 1 year to learn how customers adapt to this. There are 2 KUB distributors that have been offered the opportunity to participate in the pilot, ourselves and Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Cooperative, which serves the communities of Lebanon, Murfreesboro, Franklin, the southern ring of the Nashville vicinity, if you will. So the 2 of us will be piloting this program, if y'all agree today, to find out if indeed our customers can appreciate having an opportunity to have 100% renewable power. Next slide, please. It doesn't do us any good to offer a program to our customers if the customers don't even know it's out there. So pending your approval today, we put together a marketing and communication plan to make sure that our customers are aware of the opportunity they now have to participate in this program. You can see on the slide here the different plans that have been put together to make sure and start launching this program and this offering to our customers so that they can be very well aware of it going forward. And I will, before you switch, if you'll notice, Jay and the folks working with Jay have been very creative in some of the things they've been able to do for us here. And you'll notice their logo for the green switch match of the plug coming out of a plant here, which I'll give them a lot of credit for. So you can go ahead now, Jay. So as part of the digital marketing of this program, so our customers can be aware of the opportunity to participate, they have outdone themselves in coming up with ways to potentially advertise this to our customers. The top one might be a billboard that we will utilize to make sure our customers are aware of the opportunity. The lower couple of images are images that could be used for social media, our website development as well. When you could think about launching a new product like this, you know, utilities really aren't into launching new products. And it's surprising to me how many steps we have to go through to do this. But another thing that we have to get in place, go ahead and switch, Jay, is okay, how do customers enroll in this product? So we've designed a web page that customers will be directed to, where they can sign up for this program and learn more about the program so that they can participate. So with that, we've put together Resolution 1422 that authorizes our participation in the TVA's Green Switch Match pilot program, and authorize our President and CEO to sign what's necessary, to take what steps are necessary to participate. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Do we have comments or questions from the commissioners?
This is Jerry again. Did we calculate the impact on an average customer's bill if they decided to go to 100% renewables?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry I didn't say that before. Thank you for the question. At a cent per kWh, 1,000 kWh customer would be about $10 a month extra they would pay. An average customer is more like 1,100 kWh, so it'd be about $11 a month additional charge on their bill, line item on their bill for the renewable power. So that's the typical charge. However, unlike the block product, as your consumption goes up or goes down, your monthly charge would change to match your consumption.
Thank you. If you already said that, I apologize, but that was that's very helpful.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Yes. How many people participate in the Green Power program currently?
About 1,800.
And that's what percentage of our total possible users?
Be less than 1%, or roughly around 1%, I guess.
Okay. Do you anticipate that percentage changing?
I certainly hope so. I think particularly as you look at the marketing materials and the ability to understand now, we're not talking about blocks, which is kind of I don't know, it doesn't have the same connotations as being 100% renewable, 100% green. I think we'll have an opportunity to really have a product that our customers will appreciate. And that's part of the purpose of TVA having a pilot with a select number of participants to try that out. It's our belief, my belief, and others, that our customers will take advantage of an opportunity to put their beliefs in action, to have 100% green power at their house or at their place of business. So I'm hoping and that our customers will take advantage of the opportunity here, and we can prove to TVA that it's worthy of going beyond a pilot and becoming a full-time offering of all the distributors across the valley.
Is there a certain percentage that would make, if the pilot says, well, we still have 1% participation, does that mean it's a success, or what makes it a success or not a success?
From where I sit, just the offering and making that available to our customer makes it a success. TVA has their own criteria under which they would decide whether to move forward with it. Honestly, we've already started making suggestions to them about how they can make it better, and that's the purpose of a pilot. For example, their naming convention, Green Switch Match. That's a mouthful. Maybe there's a shorter way to name the product. Maybe we could increase the solar piece of it from 70% to 95%. There's a lot of other things we can do that might be more attractive to our customers that we'll be working on as part of the pilot program. But clearly the intention here on our part is to work with TVA to come up with something that will fit the desires of our customers to, demonstrate their commitment to the green environment.
So last question. This program is really available to the people that can afford to spend the extra cash for the green power. Are there matching programs from the solar industry, et cetera, that would help for people who can't afford it but really want it to pay for these initiatives?
I'm not aware of one. I would say that as a company, we recently invested in 212 megawatts of solar on behalf of the entire customer base. That's not directed toward any one individual, but becomes part of all of our customers' power. So on behalf of all the customers that are paying their bills, they can have and claim the benefit of that investment.
I think that, this is just a suggestion, that information would be, I think, very helpful to perhaps include on the information that's put out there about this green power switch, because I think it's great to know that they're already participating. If they feel like they can't participate in this program because it's more expensive, they already are just by default. And this is just going beyond.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Hey, Mike, you may have answered. This is Tavi. First of all, I agree with everything that Sarah talked about, just mentioned, because you're right. It's for, if you cannot afford to participate, then letting folks know that they already have, by default, are participating in some sort of green energy is helpful. The other piece of it is if TVA says that the green switch program is not successful, or they don't want to renew the pilot, then what we will do is then revert back, and you may have said this and I missed it, we'll revert back to our existing program. Is that correct?
Well, the existing program is a TVA program as well that we're participating in. But yes, that program is not in a pilot stage, and I'm not aware of TVA's plans to discontinue it. So, yeah, so customers actually, if they want to, they can participate in both. My guess is that people that are currently participating in the green power switch, which I'm one, will be the customers that are most likely out of the gate to want to go to 100% green now that we have that capability to offer it to them. So they'll be a good target audience for us to market this to. But I'm hopeful it's both of the two companies that are participating in this pilot really truly believe that we have a segment of our customer base that will love to have the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to renewables.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion for Resolution 1422 on first and final reading?
So moved, Sarah Pennell.
Thank you, Sarah. Do we have a second?
Sherry Askew, second.
Commissioners, as with our other items, members of the public were invited to pre-register to address the board on this action, and we had no one register to speak on this resolution. So, Mr. Coley, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Askew.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert.
Aye.
Commissioner Pennell.
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Small.
Aye.
Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
Resolution 1422 has passed unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. I will now recognize Gabe for the president's report.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Commissioners, Matthew Stinnett, our acting manager of electric systems engineering, just recently led a project, two-year project, to replace our existing outage management system with a brand new system called ADMS. It's referred to as the Advanced Distribution Management System. I'd like to recognize Matthew to provide a brief overview on this endeavor and how we're using this new data to leverage our responses to storms and abnormal conditions. That we're using it already. It's been working really well. But before he begins, I do want to embarrass him a little bit by saying he just recently won a very prestigious award. He was recognized just last month as being the Knoxville Chapter's Tennessee Society of Professional Engineers Young Engineer of the Year Award. So he just received that award. We're very proud of Matthew. For what it's worth, he continues our tradition of that award being KUB employees. I received it in 2001, and Derwin Haygood received it back in the 90s. So good, congratulations, Matthew, on that, and you're good to go.
Thanks, Gabe. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here to share some good news and follow up on our project that we kicked off in 2018. Exactly 2 years ago to the month, actually, Mr. John Gresham stood before you to kick off this project, and Gabe kind of alluded to it, the Advanced Distribution Management System, or what we call ADMS, and I'm happy to report that we successfully went live with that last month. To kind of set the stage and share where we've been, you'll notice that it wasn't that long ago that we were on paper. We made the switch to a formal outage management system in 2003, and with that was cutting edge technology at the time. It automatically grouped the calls coming in so that our system operators could focus on managing events efficiently. It also afforded field crews to have a mobile solution with them out in the field. With the deployment of AMI in 2016, we brought a large amount of additional data coming in from the meters. We recognized the need to have a system that could handle the large amounts of data coming in, and ADMS is that system. With the advent of the new technologies, KUB has been implementing, including advanced meters, smart switches. We looked at the industry and identified a new system that can leverage those technologies. After a study of the outage industry and exhaustive selection process, we chose the ADMS system from Oracle as it met the majority of our needs. This is the same system that's used on some of the largest utilities in the country, including Duke Energy, Southern Company, Con Edison in New York City. I'd like to note that KUB's implementation of Oracle's network management system product, KUB is Oracle's first customer that manages multiple utility events all in one platform. So KUB's really been leading the way with Oracle's product development. To put this project in perspective financially, the project costs come in right over $3 million, including the implementation costs. As I mentioned earlier, KUB kicked this project off in 2018 with phase 1 going live last month. Phase 1 really consisted of the replacement of OMS, or our outage management system, where phase 2 focuses on that next generation of distribution management, which is projected to be completed later this year, and I'll talk through some of those additional benefits a little later on. This project involved a number of different KUB employees that's participated in various responsibilities, including development, testing, training efforts. And the picture you see on the slide is what our system operators would see and use as their user interface when events show up on the map. While ADMS is not the center of KUB's IT systems, it is important to note the multiple connections to other systems at KUB. While having so many connections does complicate the implementation process, the additional connections also allow ADMS to overlay various data sources so that our operators can make the optimal decisions when managing these large events. There's a lot of acronyms on the slide, but what we're doing is essentially pulling data from our customer system, our mapping system, our meter system, all these other various systems, while all these connections kind of position KUB to be able to move into that next generation when technology becomes available. As I kind of mentioned earlier in the slide, it was 2003 when we kicked off OMS, and that was leading edge, and ADMS is the same way here in 2020. One of the biggest improvements is the ability to handle large amounts of data and process that data quickly. Historically, during major events, AMI outage alerts would have to be disabled to prevent from overloading OMS. ADMS can now handle tens of thousands of calls per hour. On top of the meter data, ADMS receives the live status of devices out in the field, such as the breakers and the smart switches we have. And additionally, ADMS allows not just the system operators to be able to, but also the field crews, the real-time status of how the system is configured. This is an excellent safety tool for our field crews to make sure they're always properly identified for the source in cases of abnormal conditions, and especially in the large storms when that's a normal practice. While there's plenty of benefits to KUB and our operation folks, the system also provides benefits to our customers. It allows the ability to provide information to the customer quicker. We understand that customers just want to know what's going on and when the service is going to be restored, and we believe that ADMS can help with that. As we move to utilize all this additional data being collected, there's several key areas that will help KUB use analytics to drive future programs. First is our resource management during storms. We want to be able to accurately determine the best use of our resources and also the appropriate number of resources, especially whenever a large event that can extend multiple days. ADMS also helps identify those repeat or chronic trouble areas. This will be extremely helpful for our reliability engineers as we focus on those problematic areas. The connection between AMI and ADMS allows us to ping those meters after an event to confirm service has been restored. This will help our operators identify areas where multiple instances of trouble might have occurred. KUB tracks several different industry metrics, including many that you're familiar with, such as SAIDI and SAFE. ADMS allows us to automatically calculate those indices so we can continue to report and track those metrics so that we can benchmark ourselves with other similar utilities. Like I mentioned, KUB went live in July, and we've already experienced what we consider to be 3 significant events, with the largest event being on July 31st, where we had over 20,000 customers impacted. We were able to restore power to over 13,000 customers within the first 3 hours of the storm rolling through. ADMS was able to handle all the calls coming in, which was a big win for us, considering we were just coming off OMS. While we're still learning the system, we're very excited about the doors that ADMS is opening in outage management. Our operators were able to focus more on the restoration and less cleaning the data coming in. With all the connections to different systems, ADMS can process that large amount of data to help predict customer outages. While we appreciate customers contacting us when they have power outages, this was the first storm in KUB history that customers did not have to call us to let us know their power was out due to the connections to ADMS, which was a huge win for us. As we kind of look to the future and that next generation, some of the potential benefits that can be added on in the future, ADMS opens up even more doors. It's got the capability to predict where outages occur, which would reduce the patrol time from our first responders. It also opens the door to providing notifications to our customers when events occur. This can mean getting accurate event status quicker to our customers. To add to my point earlier, with the ongoing implementation of automated devices, ADMS has the ability to monitor and alert our system operators to events before customers call us. This ability just echoes what I said previously about while we still appreciate customers contacting us, we want to know about those outages and events before the customer can react. With that, I'll open up to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments from the commissioners?
I have a comment. I think this is great. I live in an area that has had its outages reduced, I think, through response systems. I certainly think we ought to publicize this because I think that the public needs to know that we're ahead of their reports in most instances of a power outage. So I don't know if this is something that we can flag on our homepage or something of that nature, but I think that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point there. And I just want to iterate, we still appreciate customers contacting us. We want that communication and our customers to trust us. But where we want to go is to be able to position ourselves to where we know about the events and the outages before they can even react.
This is Commissioner Pennell. I'm just excited about this investment. I think it's a smart investment for us, and it underlines the blueprint about providing safe and reliable service, and especially safe for the workers out there who, know already what to do and how to be prepared. So it's excellent. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? All right. Thank you very much for your presentation, Matthew. Gabe?
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Commissioners, I would like to recognize Tiffany Martin, our Director of Customer Experience, to report on financial assistance available to our customers as we anticipate going back to normal business operations in the next few months. So, Tiffany.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Commissioners. As Mr. Bowley shared, I'm going to just briefly talk about our continued efforts to support customers during the pandemic, and then our tentative plans to return to normal billing operations. As you're aware, we did suspend non-payment service disconnections back in March, and that moratorium continues. In mid-June, I came and presented, and we had planned to resume those disconnections on August 3rd, but decided to pause those efforts after Governor Lee extended the state of emergency order, which is now set to expire on August 29th. So as time continues, we are definitely seeing customer past due balances grow, and we of course want to continue to be supportive of our customers during this time. But we're also keeping in mind the difficulty that our customers may have catching up if they've not been able to make payments during this time or not sought assistance over this 5-month period. So we've continued to direct customers to make small payments, seek assistance to reduce those balances, knowing that at some point we would need to resume disconnections. We are continuing to waive late fees for customers that call us with concerns about their bills. We're also waiving and or reimbursing payment transaction fees to allow customers to not feel like they have to come in and visit. For many of those customers that may be in risk categories and don't want to get out in the community. As of now, we've waived or reimbursed over $700,000 in transaction and late fees. And at this time, we are considering resuming disconnects sometime in the fall, likely mid-October before the heating season begins. By then, it will be about 7 months since we've disconnected, and we really don't want to place our customers in a more difficult situation by allowing their winter bills to also accumulate. So even with us being in October, I think we will actually be one of the last utilities in our area and in the region to resume disconnects. And so we're hoping to extend it as long as we can, but also recognize that we really may be hurting our customers if we go much longer. Previously, we had planned to, when we had planned to resume, we planned to offer generous payment arrangements if a customer called us with bill payment concerns. And as we're making our plans now, we want to be even more proactive by automatically enrolling customers with past due balances of $100 or greater in repayment plans. So these plans would allow for smaller installment payments for customers to catch up on those bills. The months for repayment would range from anywhere to 3 to 15 months, depending on the balance. And we would also be automatically waiving late fees from March, any that accrued from March, for those customers to further reduce their balances and then place the remaining balance in that automatic arrangement. So in those instances, customers would not need to contact us. And as long as they could make that installment payment, they should be in a much better place. But in addition to the automatic extended payment arrangements, we'll also be connecting customers to payment assistance programs like LAHEAP, Project Help, and some of the other partners in our community that have funding. We're hoping with the repayment plan, the assistance dollars, and our continued willingness to offer due date extensions, very few customers should be disconnected. And quite honestly, only those who don't contact us or don't make some type of payment would be disconnected at that point. And our desire is for disconnection to be the ultimate last resort. That's the case all the time, but even more true right now. So we are still really working out all the details of how we plan to resume, but we plan to meet with some of the community members next week to get their feedback on our proposed plan. And then, of course, let's talk a little bit just about assistance dollars that we're aware of right now. As of a few days ago, we were made aware that the low-income home energy assistance program currently has approximately about $4.3 million available for assistance for utilities bills. A portion of that is from additional CARES funding that hopefully will be released soon from the state of Tennessee. Project Help also has about $185,000 remaining in their approved aid for this year. And then both CAC and Project Help have applied for Tennessee CARES grants that could be utilized or will be utilized for utility bill assistance if that's approved. And the two grant applications would total about $850,000. So hopefully those organizations will learn soon whether those will be approved. I would assume they would be, knowing that this is just an important time to help those in our community. So with those additional dollars, that would bring total assistance dollars to about $5.3 million. And that doesn't include funding from some of our other partner agencies that assist with utility bills. So our next steps are really to get the word out about this additional funding in our community. The $850,000 would need to be spent by November 15th. So we definitely want people to get out and apply for those assistance dollars to reduce their balances. As we are finalizing our plan, we definitely will engage with you as a board, our community partners, and most importantly, we'll notify our impacted customers. And I cannot reiterate more. We just strongly encourage them to apply for funding available and then contact us if they're unable to make those installment payments, because we're here to help. And pretty much that's all I have to share today, but I am happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you,
Hey, Tiffany.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tavi.
Sorry about that. Hey, Tiffany, do you know what's the average balance, overdue balance for our customers?
That's a great question. So we have, if you look at just residential customers, their average balance past due is about $340.
Is there a way to proactively reach out with all of the programs that you talked about or potential funding? Are we reaching out directly to those folks and not necessarily waiting for them to contact us, but reaching out saying, hey, you have an overdue balance. This is an opportunity that you might have, and really pushing that out to the customers so that they know, because I would hope that if we could get them squared away before October, by the time the heat season rolls around, you know, they're on an even playing field. So whatever we could do, I would encourage us to really be proactive in doing some targeted communication to those folks who might have overdue bills, past due bills. And the other thing is about communication. Is that whatever we do, particularly if we go back, when we decide to go back to disconnection, that we communicate to our community timeline, what's available, how it would happen. You know, I talked about this at one of our last in-person meetings. Is, you know, we got to lead with compassionate care, and I think that's and we've been doing that, and I just want to make sure that we reiterate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Your comments about reaching out proactively, we did actually, after our June board presentation, work with CAC, who administers a lot of the LIHEAP funds in our community, specifically the Knox County area. And they actually did make calls to customers that had previously received LIHEAP funding and made them aware that funding was available. So we basically provided them a list of customers that have past due balances and then asked them to reach out directly to those customers. We did receive, or CAC received, some applications as a result of those calls, but that work still needs to continue. So I appreciate you saying that. Our goal is to just get folks connected to the dollars that are available to them. And then our intent is, yes, to continue to make the community aware, and especially those customers that need to know. So our goal, and we will share our communications plan with you all, but we will be sending direct mail items, much like we did previously, to say, hey, you're past due, we've set you up on an arrangement, and please contact us if you're going to have difficulty. There's funding and there's other options for you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Tiffany, I'd just like to say thank you for your work with CAC in particular, and others as well. I chair a bi-weekly call with social service agencies, and CAC is continually praising KUB for their partnership and how well they work together. So, and I know you're taking a big part of the lead on that. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. We appreciate CAC and so many of our other partner agencies. We could not do what we do to help customers without them. So thank you.
And Tiffany, John Worden here. I can tell how much time and energy you all are putting into this response. But I can tell you that probably more than anything else that's gone on this year, this will reflect KUB's heart and passion for our customers. How we respond to this is going to be a major test, and I'll just echo a lot of what Tybee said about the compassion here, and I would even and the communication. I would even take it one step further and think about assigning a person, a caseworker, to each person who is on the verge of being disconnected, where there's someone who they can build a relationship with, who knows all the resources, and they can say, "Hey, I'm Tiffany. I'm your representative to help you figure this out," as opposed to kind of sending them around. Oh, you should call CAC. You should call Compassion Coalition. If they've got a person that they can go to that can help them get through this difficult time, I think that would be reflect well on our blueprint. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate your comments. And really, that's one of the reasons why we started our customer counselor group, is for customers to feel like they had that go-to person. Obviously, our customer service reps also do that, but they can't spend as much time, as you mentioned, kind of connecting folks to those agencies. And so I appreciate your comments, and we definitely, our counselors will be very busy very soon trying to connect folks to assistance dollars. So I appreciate you.
Great, thank you.
And Tiffany, I was going on a bit of the same road that John was going on, and maybe even going just a little bit further.
I believe we lost.
I think we did lose Chair Hamilton.
Yep.
We'll give her a moment to reconnect.
Yeah. Jay, is she able to reconnect?
I saw her image, but looks like it's frozen again.
Okay. She just texted me. She's been kicked off twice. Or bounced off twice.
We'll give her another moment.
If not, Adrian, you're on the hook. So.
I am so sorry. Technology is not my friend today. Forgive me for the long silence there. Tiffany, what I was going to ask is, with all this money out there, the concern that I have is that sometimes applying for these grants isn't the easiest thing in the world. And in addition to having someone that kind of points a person in need of help to where they can get the funding, I'm concerned that maybe we might need to have in one of these agencies, whether it's KUB or CAC or somewhere, someone that can actually assist someone in doing what needs to be done to apply for those funds. And I don't know if there's been any thought to that, but I would really hate for someone who is in need to end up not getting the assistance just because they're intimidated by the grant application, or the red tape is just more than they think that they can deal with. So I hope that we can have some conversations about that as we get this program kicked off.
Thank you. And I know the staff at CAC and some of our other agencies that distribute the LAHEAP funds understand that difficulty, and they do try to work really hard with those customers to take some of the scariness away from it, because it can be intimidating. You're already in crises, and then you have to figure out all the things you need to pull together to get the funding. So I will definitely keep that in mind as we're talking to our partner agencies about what other things we can do to support individuals as they're applying.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from any other commissioners? Then Gabe, I will turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you. And commissioners, I appreciate those comments. We're going to take all those into consideration and see what we can do. We're definitely here to serve our customers and to help them out. So everything you all suggest, we'll see what we can do to chase down all those things and make sure that they know what's going on. So thank you very much for that. Commissioners, I'm honored to welcome my special guest, Mr. DeCosta Jenkins, who is current president and CEO of National Electric Service, NES, and the past chair of the board for the American Public Power Association, is here to make a presentation today. DJ, thank you for your time, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Gabe, and good afternoon. I am honored to have been asked to participate in your board meeting today. Every year, the American Public Power Association is pleased to present awards to deserving utilities in a number of categories. In 2020, APPA established the Sue Kelly Community Service Award in honor of Sue Kelly. Sue was president and CEO of APPA from 2014 until December of 2019. She distinguished herself by her love for community projects. One such project is the annual Day of Giving. Each year prior to our national conference, attendees from public power utilities across the U.S. gather to volunteer with local service organizations to make a positive impact on the conference host city. The award recognizes good neighbor activities that demonstrate the commitment of the utility and its employees to the community. KUB participates in the communities it serves through programs and initiatives that directly connect with customers and cater to their unique needs. KUB has developed and facilitated programs that reach customers across the spectrum of those needs, and I'll just highlight 4 of those programs today. TVA's eScore TM programs provide energy and water savings workshops, assist low-income customers with weatherization programs, and provide educational outreach, including safety demonstrations and informal sessions with area stakeholders and students. For 25 years, KUB has facilitated the Teen Work Program at Austin East Magnet School, helping students learn job skills and prepare for future careers. The KUB Cares Committee brings together employees from nearly all departments to identify and promote volunteer and community service projects throughout the year. KUB also makes a dedicated effort to support the United Way of Greater Knoxville every year. Through these initiatives, KUB lives out their commitment to serving its customers and community. KUB received the American Public Power Association Sue Kelly Community Service Award during the APPA's Public Power Connect Virtual Summit and Business Meeting in June. I'm honored to have had this opportunity on behalf of the American Public Power Association to participate in your board meeting to present the Sue Kelly Community Service Award to KUB virtually today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jenkins. I appreciate you being here to present this to us, and I just want to say that how proud we are as a board of all the efforts that KUB makes, and congratulations to the staff and to everyone on receiving this award. Next, I'd like to turn it back over to Gabe.
Thank you, DeCosta, and thank you, Chair Hamilton. I'm honored to have another special guest speak to us today. Cindy Herron, TVA's Vice President of Energy System Services and Programs of Commercial Energy Solutions, is here to present an award to us. So, Cindy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Gabe. I really appreciate the opportunity to join your board meeting today. It's always a highlight for me when I have the opportunity to attend one of your meetings. I just hate today that I'm having to attend it virtually and not be able to see all of you in person. But I appreciate this opportunity, and I just want to personally thank you, the board, KUB leadership, for your dedication, your time, and your support of the TVA Energy Right programs. These programs include home energy improvements, low-income initiatives, smart energy technologies, demand response, and renewable programs. And our partnership with KUB and other local power companies has enabled us in the Valley to exceed our load management target goals for 12 years in a row. And this has only been possible because we've worked closely together with our local power companies like KUB, and then you take those programs and offer them to your consumers there locally in the KUB area. So on behalf of TVA and the entire Energy Right team, I am pleased to recognize KUB as a top performer in their Energy Right programs for our fiscal year 19. And KUB has been recognized as a top performer in these programs since we launched our highlights report in 2012. So that is 8 years that KUB has consistently been recognized as a top performer. This year, we're recognizing KUB as a top performer in 7 different categories in 5 of our programs. And that places KUB among our very top 5 performers in the Valley. This recognition includes program results in home uplift, e-score, home energy workshops, self-audits, and green power switch. So I thank you today for another exceptional year, and I congratulate you on your top performer award. So thank you once again for the opportunity to join you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. On behalf of the board, I want to thank TVA for this recognition and for all the support that we have had from TVA in delivering these programs to KUB's customers. You know, together we have been able to accomplish so much. And in particular, we're really proud of all the work that we have done to serve our low-income customers through those programs like KEEM and now Home Uplift. You don't have to look too hard to see the significant impact that these programs are making in our community, and we are really grateful to have TVA's partnership and support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Would any other commissioners like to make a comment? All right, then I'll turn it back to Gabe. I'm sorry, did I cut someone off?
I just, I guess it's nice to hear kind of we're in the top 5 or we're in the top, these measures against other utilities. I see all the thought and the care that you all put into every action in what you do, and the pride of that I see in just the employees at KUB. And so getting these awards kind of means a little bit more than the award itself. It's just kind of how we measure against people in the Valley. So I I appreciate it, and thank you for the recognition.
Other comments? All right, Gabe?
Yeah, I want to echo what Commissioner Pennell just said. You know, it's about our employees wanting to do this and the awards we're getting for what they're doing. And I can't say enough for our folks who really get engaged in these efforts, whether it be community outreach or TVA programs or all the above. They embody it. They want to do it. They make it the best. And I want to echo those comments. So thank you, Sarah, for those comments. And thank you, Cindy, for your support. Our partnership with TVA over the last few years especially has been tremendous. You look back just since 2015, our partnerships on weatherization have garnered $20 million in this area and has fixed and served over 1,700 homes alone just in those programs. That's significant. That's making an impact on our customers and how they look at it as far as energy. And we appreciate that so much and look forward to more programs in the future. And I thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Cindy.
My pleasure. Thank you. Look forward to continuing to work together.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I believe that concludes the President's report. I'll next recognize Commissioner Herbert for the nominating committee report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The nominating committee, composed of myself, Adrian Simpson Brown, and John Warden, met this afternoon, or actually this morning before our board meeting, to begin this year's process for nominating candidates for the commissioner term that begins January 1 of 2021. This will be for a new commissioner to replace Commissioner Pennell, whose term is expiring. Sarah has been a great asset to our board and our community, and we understand that she is not interested in serving another term, and under the mayor's current resolution, it wouldn't be available to her. But I know we all appreciate Sarah very much. The nominating committee voted today to add 2 questions to the application for the commissioner position regarding applicants' interest in low-income energy burden and environmental issues. In response to a request from the city administration and city council, these items were added. We are updating the application. It will be available this afternoon on KUB's website at www.kub.org or by calling KUB. Applications should be submitted by 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 10, 2020. If anybody has any questions or has any outstanding candidates to urge to apply, then they need to get busy to do that.
Celeste, thank you for the kind comments. I have certainly enjoyed serving on this board with all of you. I'll be sad to leave.
Thank you very much for the report, Commissioner Herbert, and Commissioner Pennell, you will be missed. So moving forward, as I stated previously, members of the public were invited to pre-register to speak to the board today. Knoxville Vice Mayor Gwen McKenzie registered to speak and is being connected to the meeting now.
Hi, this is Vice Mayor Gwen McKenzie. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you, Chair Hamilton, also to Vice Mayor Brown and to Gabe Bolas for your openness to explore additional opportunities to serve our residents who continuously face financial challenges. I know here in the last few months that there were a lot of opportunities and scrutiny that KUB was put under. I also want to thank you for your ability to be able to look at the things that were presented to you and to work not only together as a board, but also with the community and the organization who led those opportunities, and City Council to come up with some very creative ways to be able to meet those needs of the residents in Knox County. Today, I commend you for the board for passing those two resolutions that will freeze the fees, as well as establish a community advisory panel, and also call for a study when you do decide to increase fees or to unfreeze them in the near future. I think this speaks volumes to your commitment to the community. I think it speaks volumes to your openness to stay connected and represent, and display a confirmation that you hear the community, you hear the residents, and that you're willing to work with City Council and with the mayor to be able to provide the best possible service and meet people where they are. Also, I want to take this opportunity to thank your social services team that was speaking earlier, who actually do outreach and who speak with your customers who are facing financial hardships and challenges with paying their bills. I actually host a Faith Leaders Call weekly along with co-host Cynthia Finch, where we make sure that we provide information to the faith leaders that they can share in the community. And KUB Veronica Andrews has been a constant community partner on that call to share information and to offer the number and talk about what KUB is doing proactively to assist in that arena. And so we certainly appreciate that partnership. Also, I guess I picked a really good day to attend your meeting because I did see that you were awarded several awards today. So I want to congratulate you on that. Those awards, in particular, the Sue Kelly Community Service Award that spoke about your KUB TeamWorks program. And that is a program that I hope will continue in perpetuity with KUB, as I have actually seen that program in action. I've actually seen how you guys have worked with students from Austin East in this program who have gone on to get engineering degrees and then come back and be employed by KUB. And so you're definitely making a difference in the lives of young people in our community, and I commend you for that. Again, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for your openness and let you know that I look forward to working with each of you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor McKenzie. Before we adjourn the board meeting today, is there any other business or are there any other comments from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all. See you.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks.